video, I'm going to be making Asado de Bodas from The Art of Mexican Cooking by Diana Kennedy. I've cooked out of this book several times before. It's where I recommend you start if you want to get into cooking real authentic Mexican cooking. This is a dish from northern Mexico in the Durango area that is served at wedding feasts traditionally. It's a stew of pork cubes that have been boiled and then fried with this thick mole sauce. And when you hit it right and you make this from home, man, it is just going to be a crowd pleaser for everyone. This recipe sort of makes enough for 4 servings, but you can scale this up pretty easily, which is probably why they serve it at wedding feasts. In addition to the traditional sort of chocolate mole sauce, this has a pop from a complete orange's worth of zest in it. And that gives it this wonderful fruity flavor that's not always present in some other moles. So enough of me talking, let's go ahead and hop into the kitchen. I'm going to show you how to make this. We're going to begin this recipe with a nice heavy bottom pot, and to that we're going to add 2 pounds of cubed pork. You want something that has a little bit of fat in it, so a little bit of marbling. I'm using some chopped up boneless pork loin chops. And to that we're going to add a 1/4 of an onion, roughly chopped, as well as 2 garlic cloves. And then just a heaping teaspoon of salt and enough liquid in the form of water to cover everything. Now we're going to turn this on to medium and cover it with a lid. And once it gets to a low simmer, we're going to let this continue to cook for about 25 minutes. Now that the 25 minutes are up, I'm going to go ahead and take the lid off of the pork and set it aside. And we're going to take about 1.5 cups of the broth from the pork and put that in a separate bowl. And now we've melted 3 tablespoons of lard. And these are ancho chili peppers. So we're just going to fry these in the lard. It only takes a couple of seconds. And then flip it over. And then drain it. And now we're just going to put that in the warm broth and let that soak. And we're just going to continue to repeat this with each one of the peppers until they're all in the broth. You can see how these peppers instantly stain that broth. You want to try to make sure you really get them submerged because we want them to soften while we're going through this process. In the meantime, we've got tomatillos, and these are not tomatoes. They're a separate, but they're closely related. They usually have paper husks on them that you have to remove. So now we're just going to put these in the lard and get them to blister. And that'll take just a few minutes, but once we get blistering around, kind of just a smattering around all the sides here, we're going to go ahead and remove those to our pot with our broth and chili peppers as well. Look at this wonderful blistering. These are done. So we're not actually cooking these all the way through, and there's a reason for that, is because when we have the cooked outside and the more raw inside of the tomatillos, we get both of those flavors when they combine into the sauce. And that's pretty common in Mexican cuisine to use both the cooked and the raw version of an ingredient. So now we're just going to go ahead and put those aside into the broth with the peppers. And up next, we've got 4 garlic cloves, and we're just going to briefly fry those until they get nice and golden. Now we're also going to add these to the broth. And the last thing we're going to fry here, or the last couple things, is this is just half of a stale tortilla. We're just going to fry that until it kind of hardens up almost to like a tostada. And once again, we're just going to add this tortilla to our broth. And the last thing is just any old piece of just plain white bread. I'm using the bottom of a hamburger bun, but just any sort of sliced white bread will be fine. And once again, we're going to go ahead and fry that until it gets crispy. And once again, we're going to go ahead and add this in with everything else in the broth. Now we're done with this pan, so you can go ahead and wipe it down, and we're going to move on to the next step. Now we're going to take all of our ingredients and put them in a blender. Now we've got everything in, but there are a couple more ingredients we're going to add. This is an ounce of Mexican drinking chocolate as well as a pinch of cumin seeds. But if you're unfamiliar, this is Mexican drinking chocolate. You can get it in most Latino grocery stores. There are a few different brands. This is just the brand that mine happens to carry. But you'll see it's used in a lot of Mexican moles and other dishes. So we're going to go ahead and put that in. And now we're just going to blend this up for several minutes to ensure that we get a nice, evenly smooth, almost like a paste that we're going to put in with the rest of the dish. I've melted 3 more tablespoons of lard in a Dutch oven, and now I've drained the pork pieces, and now we're going to fry these in the lard until they get golden brown. That should take about 10 minutes. Now that we've got some good browning on the pork, this is our super thick sauce, and we're going to go ahead and get that in there as well. And we're also going to put in half a teaspoon of Mexican oregano, as well as 2 bay leaves, and the chopped zest of 1 whole orange. And we're going to get all that blended together. Make sure you're using a appropriate utensil and scraping the bottom of that to sort of deglaze. Oh man, this smells so good. Deglaze the bottom of your Dutch oven. So now we're going to go ahead and cook this until this sauce really starts to thicken up. And there may be a little bit of a color change, but this is already kind of a dark sauce. So we're going to go ahead and let that do its thing. It's going to take about anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. This is the level of thickness you want your sauce to be. It's a very thick sauce, and you can also see it's taken on this really almost burgundy color. And man, it's just filled my kitchen with such good smells. But at this point, you can go ahead and season to taste with salt. For me, it only took about a teaspoon because this concentrates down. So I wouldn't go too much more than that, or you end up with a very salty dish. Also, make sure you are taking out your bay leaves because those are not good to eat. So we're going to go ahead and plate this up, and I'll see you guys over at the table. I've got this all plated up, and now I'm just going to add a couple of garnishes, and they don't do a lot other than make it look pretty, but I'm going to put some white sesame seeds across the top just to make it look pretty. You've got to put a little bit of cilantro. If you don't like either one of these things, obviously you can just leave them off. And this is traditionally served with tortillas. So get you a big stack of tortillas, eat it like a taco, use the tortillas to roll up all that sauce. This is just an amazing dish, guys. I think you're really gonna enjoy it. If you like moles, this is one that's a little bit different than what you would get in a restaurant. And when it's home cooked and you get that thick sauce, oh my God, you will not regret taking the time to make this. All right, guys, I'm gonna leave it there. Check out some of my other Mexican dishes. I've got a bunch of other videos. It's one of my favorite things to cook, and check out The Art of Mexican Cooking, and I'll see you guys at the next one.